What's going on, Sumolings? Thank you so much for joining us for another product walkthrough webinar. I am Lindsay, and today I am joined by the team over at Rake. Rake is a centralized messaging web platform that simplifies omnichannel and workplace messaging with efficient and easy to use tools. It is available on AppSumo right now, starting at $49 for a lifetime deal. But before we dive into the walkthrough, I just want to tell y'all a few quick things, give you the lay of the land. The first thing that you need to know, if you want to say hi to us, tell us a little bit about your use case, why you're interested in Rake. We love to hear that in the chat room. If you have any questions about the tool, the deal, how to get set up, go ahead and leave your questions in the Q&A box down below this video. We do have one of the two mics on standby to answer those questions as they come in. The last thing is that there will be a replay of this available. So if you need to step out or if you just want to watch this again later, you totally can. All right, that is enough of me. Hey, Mike Hendricks, how are you doing?
Good, Lindsay, how are you?
I am doing very well. I am excited to have y'all here today. I'll pass this over to you for the walkthrough. Let me know when you're ready to take some questions later.
Yeah, that sounds great. It's like, thanks for shooting it over. And if there's any problem with the screen share, you let me know along the way. I thought I would go through a demonstration here and explain how we use Rake, because this is, the Rake workspace and messaging is one of these really familiar stories where we eat our own dog food. We use Rake every day to run our own business. And so what I thought I would do is take some people through some different ways that we use Rake. And then of course, we're available for questions throughout. So right now on the screen, what you're seeing is actually a direct message with myself. I am one of these people that I will send messages to myself as reminders, and I come back occasionally, and you can see I tend to send like a lot of links to myself because I want to go back and read something. And so I just wanted to start there and just show you how I personally use direct messages with myself. Think of it as a notepad. But what I thought I would do is I'll start on this left-hand nav and kind of work my way up. And if you've not experienced this yet in Rake, if you've already been in a workspace and this looks a little different to you, it's real simple, just clicking on the hamburger menu to expand this nav. I tend to like for it to be open. So I thought what I'd do is I would start in Workspace Editor. And of course, you can see here that this is not the case in most of our menu, but we do have a sub menu as it relates to Workspace Editor. And so I'll go through some of these things and touch on them, and hopefully that'll create some conversation. So I'll start here with platform integrations. We default to opening up this Rake chat widget because that's really how we started. That's the first piece of technology we delivered, is a chat widget that you would put on your website. And that can be customized. I can click into edit and I can go into edit appearance and position. And as you'll see, I can change the colors of the widget. I can change the way it initially looks on your website. So right here is a bubble, but of course we have a tab style as well. I can change colors, et cetera, et cetera. But where this kind of really gets good is if I go into chat widget styles, and I've got quite a bit of functionality in here, changing logos out. So when we talk about like customizing branding, you can change out footer logos, you can change out header logos, you can change all of these colors, even change links if somebody clicks on a powered by or something like that. Quite a bit of functionality in there. And I usually share with people that, hey, get in here and play around with it a little bit. Figure out what you would like for your widget to ultimately look like. I'm a person that I like for it to kind of match the website, but some people don't. And so we try to provide as much option and choice as we can in here. And then this middle one, this is pretty good for people that are really hardcore about visitor engagement, on your website. So you can, whether it's mobile or desktop, you can move the call to action or the minimized widget appearance. You can move that around your website. If you wanted to, you could put it right in the middle of the screen. Some people I've seen put it like top left, right? A lot of people will go left side lower. Whatever you want to do, you can do that with widget position. So that's a look at some of the functionality there on updating the way it looks. Now, in terms of functionality, you'll see here, allowed domains. This is a question that's come up some. Where can I put my chat widget? You can put your chat widget just about anywhere you want to put it. You just have to make sure that you add in the domain in this little window so that it'll render. Where do I find the code, right? No problem, just click on show code, and here's your code, and you can send this on to a web admin, or a lot of people on this call actually probably handle that themselves. We've even built a little window here where you can just type in the email address of the person you want to send this to and hit send, and off it goes to them. We also include in here a WordPress plugin hash if you want to go that route for putting the widget on a WordPress site. You can update a couple of pieces of text here. And then we also have proactive messaging. So proactive messaging would be if someone lands on my website and some event happens, I want to send this message to them with no human interaction whatsoever. And as you can see, we have lots of different events here. X amount of seconds have gone by. They scrolled to a certain position on my page. They came from a unique URL. I could go on and on. But you can build these proactive messages so that the system will just automatically send the message to someone. That message can include a link. It can include lots of different things. And then you should know you can stack rules together. So if I did actually pick something here, I can then, so returning user is false. Essentially, that means it's a new visitor. And so then I could hit add rule and put another rule, another rule, another rule. And then you would have a pretty complicated, or not complicated, but a pretty detailed rule as to when you want this specific message to send. So all of that is available in this Rake chat widgets. Click on edit and go from there. And then as you can see, depending on your user role, you can add a widget. So maybe you want one widget to behave a certain way on this website, and you want another widget to look a little differently and behave this way on a different website. You've got that functionality. Rake Direct, honestly, this is more for developers. And this is something that we've just begun to open up a little bit. But we do have some people that use Rake Direct and can do some development on that. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that because I think that's more of a direct conversation. And then, of course, you can connect to Facebook Messenger pages, or if I'm not saying that quite right, to Messenger for businesses or for pages. So you've got that opportunity there. You can send us a real quick request. This actually, when someone uses this functionality here, a task is created within our Rake workspace, but I'm just sharing this because you'll see how we use tasks. A task is created within our Rake workspace. It says so-and-so would like for us to create an SMS number for them. Here are their area codes that they would prefer for us to try to use initially, et cetera, and then we create the number for you. And the benefit of having that number created, just as a side note, then when people text you, it comes into your workspace. It's omnichannel. It's just another channel. So think of it as the SMS channel that comes into your workspace. Google Business Messaging, this is not live yet. We're presently working on it. Although I will share with you, Zapier is live, and you actually can now just go to Zapier and search for Rake and find it. It's live and available. The reason I mentioned Zapier is we use a Zap today, the Rake team does. If someone reviews our business on Google My Business, that review via a Zap comes right into our workspace. And so that's just an example of how we use Zapier. And I'll touch on a couple of other ways we use Zapier. If we create a contact in HubSpot, we use HubSpot at Rake. If we create a contact in HubSpot, that contact immediately flows into our Rake workspace as a customer. And hopefully when we put that person into HubSpot as a contact, we have their mobile number. And if we do, that's really valuable on the Rake side because we can identify them a little easier when they come in and start to interact with us. I'll just click on customers and I'll come back here, but I'll click on customers just so you can see it. Some people, like here's an example right here. This person has never interacted with us on the Rake side, but they are in our HubSpot. And so we can kind of tell that by looking at, activity is never. And then of course, some people have interacted with us in a chat, but we never collected their name or their number. So it can go both ways, but HubSpot has helped us to grow our customer base here. So that's how that's a couple of ways that we use Zapier. I'll move on to tags briefly, but that's a good segue because we actually use tags in Zapier as well. So if a conversation receives a certain tag, then we use a Zap to alert someone else in our organization. And so that tends to have to do with sales. And the one that we have in place is whale. If we tag a conversation with the word whale, immediately our sales individuals is notified that, hey, I'm chatting with a whale currently. And we just like to put some more eyes on that. So that's just another way that we use Zapier. Let's talk about quick messages if we can. So quick messages are really useful and they save a lot of time if we're chatting with someone, but there are some details to point out here. And really that would be categories. So when we create a quick message, and I should say quick messages can include links, they can include attachments, like some quick messages that our customers use would have a PDF attached to them, and that's really useful in certain interactions that people have. But what's really important to know about quick messages is they're either coded for a message or for an invitation, or in the case of this one, you can see they actually work for both. But let's explain what that means just briefly. An invitation quick message is only used to begin a conversation. And so some people may say, I don't even know how you would begin a conversation, and we'll get to that in website visitor monitoring, but we actually do provide everyone using Rake the ability to see traffic on their own website at the individual visitor level. And we included an invite button. And if you press invite, you can actually begin a chat with someone rather than waiting for them to begin a chat with you. Well, in that flow, we allow you to use a quick message for that initial hello, if you will. But it needs to be categorized as an invitation. Some people will reach back out to us and say, hey, I just tried to start a conversation and my quick message wasn't available. It invariably is because we missed clicking a box and marking it as an invitation, and probably only marked it as a message. We can just click into here's what that looks like. So and you can see here where I can put an attachment, et cetera, et cetera. So I just wanted to point that out. But quick messages are great. Quick messages really are nice on mobile. So just about everything, just about all of the functionality that you would use from a public conversation piece or an internal conversation piece, just about all of that functionality is available in our app. And quick messages would be one of those things, just right on your phone. And so it's really convenient to chat with people from your mobile device and run your business really from your mobile device in terms of interacting with customers and prospects. And quick messages is just one of those features that's available on the phone as well as desktop. Okay, let's go to task types quickly. So we do have a task management system that is attached in Rake. Not attached, I mean, it's built right in. Tasks get really good with Rake when you use task types. And so those are two slightly different things. You'll see here are task types, and then over here are just the actual tasks. but task types allow you to create a type. So sales would be a task type. And in building a task, I'm asked what type of task is this? And if I picked sales, it actually notifies the sales team, and it even assigns the task to a certain person within the sales team. And it even predetermines how much time they have to complete the task. And that all came from the way we built that task type. And so if you're going to be a user of our tasks, I would encourage you to come into Workspace Editor and click on task types and set up some types. And then you're going to get a lot more value out of tasks. So I wanted to point that out. Tasks, I should also mention, are available through Zapier as well. So as an example, you could create a task in Rake, and it would automatically create a task in Google Tasks, because maybe you're already using Google Tasks, and that just seems natural to you. And so, of course, that's available through Zapier. I will point out, I know this is being recorded, so it's important to mention this. Within hours, you'll probably never see this again. This Be Open Live Agent settings, this is going to change to conversation settings. And we are pushing a release, I would say certainly within the next 24 hours, but it could be 4 hours. And a few things in here will change. You'll have access to control some automated replies that you may see currently in chat. And so I just wanted to point that out, that if you're watching this video and you're wondering where this is, that won't be there in a matter of hours. We should touch on quick links and notes. We can do this briefly. You have the ability to create links that can be drug. You can drag them right into a chat. And there's some notes that you can create for your workspace, and I'll show how that displays in just a moment. But from this very top piece, My Workspace, there are some pieces in here that I definitely think you want to know about. The first thing I always like to point out is from Workspace Editor, I go to My Workspace, and then I would click on Workspace Hours, because Workspace Hours can impact whether a chat widget appears or does not appear. And so I would encourage you to just pay a little bit of attention to this. If I click the box here, it disregards these hours here. I want you to know that. This means for the all of Monday, we are closed. So checking that box is important. You can see in the case of Rake, we have set up our workspace hours to be 24/7. It's always open. But you don't have to do that. We work for franchise chains, and we work for different education centers, et cetera. And they get very specific about when they want to be available and when they don't. And they use workspace hours for that. So point that out. If you're ever wondering, if someone ever asks you, hey, I can't find the link to log into Rake, little hint that it's sitting here. Again, you would go to Workspace Editor, My Workspace. This right here is your link to log into Rake. You can see in our case, it's rake.rake.ai, but in a lot of other people's cases, it might be barbershop.rake.ai or agency.rake.ai, whatever it would be. But that's where you can always find that if you're missing it. And so couple of items there about workspace information. I'm going to jump over to conversations and show you why some of this matters, the information here and the quick links, because I just want to provide some context around some of this. So if I jump up here to conversations, and I'll ultimately come back to conversations, but I just want to quickly, if you want to show workspace info, this can be helpful. So if I was chatting with someone right now, if I was in a public chat, I actually could drag this down here, and it would come right. And now that just saved me a little bit of time, right? I don't want to have to type these different URLs. I actually had a chat today, and I misspelled a really short URL, and immediately the person came back and said that page doesn't exist, and I had misspelled the word video. So it was actually a perfect example of why I should have simply used the drag feature. So at any rate, I wanted you to know that that's here. again, if you're wondering, well, how would I create all those different things that I can drag? It's in Workspace Editor, My Workspace, Quick Links. So that's how that works. Okay. Hopefully we're doing okay on questions. Let's touch on knowledge base for a moment. So a lot of people don't think of knowledge base when it comes to Rake, but I do want you to know that you can create. This would be specific to your workspace. You can create an unlimited amount of articles that help people learn about your business, help people maybe use the features or products in your business. What does that mean, or what does that look like? Well, I'll just bring across this blade here. So when you write a knowledge base article, obviously you put text in here, and you can put images in here, you can embed videos in here, and then the payoff, okay, the payoff is actually this link here that, I would just simply click to copy the link. This is if you think about it, if I'm chatting with someone and they say, well, explain to me how it is that I change out that filter on my air conditioner. Well, theoretically, you would have written a knowledge base article about how to change the filter on your air conditioner, because I sell air conditioners for a living. And so the person that's chatting would simply come to knowledge base pretty quickly. They could search for that particular article very easily. They grab the link, right? They come, boom, they come right back to conversations. And this is where you'd be having this live conversation going. I'll just get rid of this link here that I drug in a second ago. I would hit paste, and there it is. Now, I'll just show you for the sake of the demo, what's that look like on the public side? What would the experience be for the customer? And you can see here's this full article they can read, whether it's on their phone or on their computer. Theoretically, they could bookmark this link and have this to help them through, because maybe they think like, I'm not going to remember all that, but so that's how knowledge base works at Rake. And I would also share with you, maybe as a little bit of a hack, but it's probably partly what is intended with knowledge base. You certainly could use knowledge base for training. You certainly could write training articles, and new employees could look at that knowledge base, and that could be a nice time saver for them. And so I want you to know that that's available. Speaking of training or new employees, how do you add people to your workspace? Well, this is somewhat newer for us. You would click invite user to begin with, okay? The functionality that you'll then see in here is actually pretty wide. So I can certainly invite someone specifically with an email. And I can even select, the role that they're going to have for my workspace. And I can pick the channels, the conversation channels that I'm going to allow them to have access to. And heads up here, whether your channel is named external or external chats, if someone's not a member of external or external chats, but if someone's not a member of that channel, they cannot chat publicly with people from your website. So they are available for transfer, but they cannot chat publicly with someone from your website. So at any rate, I can do this, hit send invitation, pretty normal, typical invite experience. But I also have the ability to invite broadly, if you will, and like send a link, maybe in an email to everyone where I work, or maybe, really, you could post a link on Facebook and say, anyone that wants to join this workspace can join right now. We already have AppSumo purchasers that are doing that have figured out that the Rake workspace can almost be this kind of different community experience. And they've customized their link in a way that's made it very open, very broad. Obviously, then copy the link and they share it publicly, and people are just rolling in. Now, you should know those people are counted as a user. Okay, they're counted as a user. But in theory, if you had bought Tier 5, which has unlimited users, if you had bought tier 5 and created one of your workspaces to be a community workspace, and when you did that, you said, and I want this to be able to have 10,000 users, you really would have no problem. And you could do that today. So that's how we invite people. I will share with you, if someone's already a member of the workspace, I want to make sure they're specifically a member of this particular channel. You would come in here again, users and channels, go to channels, and then you can see, like, we created a channel for AppSumo launch, right? And so I could come in here, and you can see right now we maybe have 8 or so people in here, but I want to add more, right? And so I would just simply click add members. I could go through everyone that's a member of my workspace and add them to that particular channel. Now, if the channel is public, which in the case of AppSumo, it is a public channel. If it had a lock, like this documentation channel did, you would know it's not public. If it's a public channel, people can look at it anyway. Okay, people in your workspace can get to it and see it. The benefit of adding someone to the channel is they will be notified when content is added to the channel. And so that's why when you create a channel, even if you know you want it to be public, you might add 4 people because you really want to make sure they are up to speed on this particular channel. You certainly could do that. And that's probably a good place to talk about channels just briefly. So let me go back to conversations just to expose this. A few things on channels. One, you will see I have a lot of channels here. Okay. What you might start to notice is, this one has this parenthesis and it says Rake community. So we have a Rake community. This one says a different name of a business, et cetera, et cetera. The reason that looks like that is because I'm also a member of the Rake community workspace, but I'm not in it right now. I'm in the Rake workspace, not Rake community. I'm in Rake. But we don't want for you to not know that there are other conversations going on that you maybe need to be drawn into. So if someone posted into a channel in Rake community, I would be, here's external, here's general for Rake community. Here's the one that we see this a lot. For Rake community, here's help and how to. Well, if someone posted into that channel, even though I'm not in that workspace currently, we would want to know that, hey, someone posted something in there and maybe we need to follow up with them. So if that happened, we would put a notification dot here, and you would be notified that, like, oh, something's waiting for me. And then you would actually see a notification here in conversations, et cetera, et cetera. So I want you to know you can be a member of multiple workspaces, and you can still keep tabs on what's happening with different conversations across all the workspaces that you're a member of. So that I wanted to make sure I shared that. Now, again, talking just in terms of, well, Rake uses Rake to run their business. How do channels work? Well, look, I'm a member of the AppSumo launch channel. And if someone posts something in here that's relevant to our AppSumo deal or something like that, I'd like to be notified about that. What we don't like is having to keep up with all these different emails that could be about all these different things. We feel like that's kind of a little crazy. And so we use channels. We try to kind of keep our communication organized by topic. And so that's why we value channels so much. And listen, it's not just us. There's plenty of companies now that communicate, they have 100 employees, 200 employees, and they're using this type of experience to communicate. So we're no different, and we use Rake to do that. So that's how we use channels. And again, channels can be public, channels can be private. If I want to create a channel, I simply would click on the plus right here, and I can start to create whatever channel I want to create. And it's a pretty typical workflow. So that's how we use channels for communication. Now, there's 2 other really primary pieces of communication, if you will. There's external. These are chat widgets, Facebook Messenger, SMS, all of those different types of chats that are directed to, my quote unquote, my company would come in here. Okay. And you're actually we're seeing a couple of different little workspaces in here that I just happen to be a member of. But if someone chatted with Rake right now, that would come in, you could answer it, and we would even see and experience, we would know if this was coming from Facebook, if this was a text message, if it came from one of our widgets. We would have all of that information and could answer the chat and begin to talk with whoever we needed to talk to. So that's external. Those are external conversations. Of course, we have all these channel conversations. And then we do have direct messages, which are pretty typical. I think most people are familiar with direct messages at this point. Direct messages, again, you can DM yourself as a notepad. I tend to like that. I use that myself. You can have a direct message with one person. Okay, so in this case, you can see I have a direct message with Andy. And by the way, I can see Andy's available right now because he's set to green. Hector is set to red. That means he's not available, right? It's that simple. But you can also certainly have direct messages with more than one person. So in here, we can see Andy and Mike and myself have a direct message. And then if I clicked into this one, their availability would show up here. Okay, so it just depends on what type of direct message you're in terms of seeing if someone is available or not available. Let me just click into some account details because I think this is important. I would share with you, hopefully almost everyone here has received an email from us after you became a customer to download our mobile app. And I just can't begin to tell you enough, like, if you really want to get max value out of Rake, I would encourage you to come in here and get our mobile app. Functionality is pretty good. You really can stay up to date with your coworkers. You can really stay up to date with, public chats, if you will. Task functionality is in the mobile app. Customers, I can find a customer on our mobile app and call them in 3 seconds. It's really easy to use. So I would just encourage you all to use our app. I can share with you, many months ago, we did rely on a phone number to be able to log into the mobile app, but we've since updated that so that it truly is international. You can log in with an email address. And I would encourage everyone to use the Rake app, whether it's through iOS or Android. Let's see what else is available in here. Notifications. And so then notifications are also a pretty big deal, especially if you are going to be engaged in chatting with, hey, there's a customer that has a question. Who's going to get to that chat first? You really do want to rely on notifications for that to be notified that just happened, especially if you're on your phone, if you're away from your desktop. And so come into my account, click on my account, and then scroll down a little bit to get to notifications, and then customize that however you want to customize that. That brings me to visitors. And so let me touch on visitors, and then maybe we can open it up for questions. So you can see in our case, I am, this is a bit extreme, but I am notified every single time someone lands on rake.ai. And you probably wouldn't see that right now in a webinar because my notifications tend to get suppressed in a webinar. But so I am. And the question would be, wow, that seems like a lot. Just since this started, I think I've got 17 notifications that are waiting for me. Why would I do that? Well, I would just share with you, visitor monitoring for us at Rake. This is live. These are people that are on our website right now. Visitor monitoring for the team at Rake is one of the ways we sell. Okay. And it's a sales process. Lots of different companies have different sales processes. Lots of companies have more than one sales process, right? For us, this is one of our main sales processes, and I'll just briefly walk you through this. So we send an email. we'll send an email to an industry. So let's say we send an email to 1,000 landscapers, okay? And we had built a landing page. And from that email, they all start coming to this landing page, right? Well, we would see that here in real time. And so what we do at Rake is we say, hey, sales team, tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern, we're going to hit send on this email. And it's going to go to 1,500 landscapers in the state of Texas. Please be prepared to engage with those people. So we hit send. We've got a couple salespeople that are kind of looking at this dashboard here, and people from Texas start rolling into our website, and we can even see the page they're on, right? They keep coming to this one landing page that we created. Well, we use the invite button. Okay, I'll do it here. This person in Marlboro, New York right now. By the way, I can see some things about them as well. I can see what device they're using. In the case of this person from Marlboro, New York, this is interesting. They're on a desktop, which makes it a little, we like that. It makes it a little easier to chat with them. So they're on the pricing page right now. This is not set up. This is happening in live time. They're on the pricing page. If I hit invite, I can click on this lightning bolt, okay? Remember about invitations, right? So I can use an invitation. I could just use this top one, hit send. And now I actually have begun a conversation with this person in New York. That person's been on this page for about 24 minutes. It's kind of a long time. They may have stepped away. I don't know. But if they reply to me, that conversation will start up. I would come over to conversations and I would engage with that conversation. You can actually see here it is sitting here right here. Okay. I could actually click in this. Again, there's the Marlboro, New York. There's the pricing page, or the web page that they're on happens to be pricing. I could send another message and another message and another message. If I capture their information, if in the conversation they share with me who they are, I can enter that right here really simply. And so this starts to become quite useful. If they ask me a question that's just too difficult for me, I can transfer it. I can kind of raise my hand and I can see who in my company is available, and I can transfer that or at least request to transfer that conversation to someone. If something in this conversation happens that maybe is going to require follow-up, I would hit add task, and I would create a task that is about follow-up, right? And so you can kind of start to see where like, oh, okay, and the task type, I would assign that to sales. When I do that, it immediately assigned it to Greg. It immediately decided that it's due on this date at this time because I used task types like we talked about before. I could put in whatever details I want to here. And what's really nice about this is when Greg comes back to this task, the chat that we had is attached to the task, which is quite nice. It gives Greg quite a bit of context about what this conversation was and why do I need to follow up with this person, et cetera, et cetera. So you can kind of start to see this stuff crystallizing. It's like, okay, that's not so bad. That was a cool experience for that person on my website. If they had a question I couldn't get to, I got a solution for it. Let's say it was an amazing conversation and I want to share it with my boss, right? Or I want to share it with the entire company. I can click right here and I can share that transcript in multiple ways, whether it's copy and paste, send it to some email that has nothing to do with Rake, or send it as a direct message or to a channel. So quite a bit of functionality there to take advantage of that conversation. Last thing I'll point out, if you ever want to get to documentation or you ever want to get to support videos, you can find those down here in the lower left. Or one feature that I love, if up here, if you see this blue text, learn more about this page, you can click that link and it will take you to our documentation. And we're going to do the very best we can on where we send you based on the part of the workspace that you were in at that moment. So that's nice, a little bit of a time saver. And there you go. There's an incoming chat. So that's what that looks like. We can pick this up. They'll tell you always in a webinar, don't ever do that, but let's see what happens. So I clicked on that message. What if I message here? Does that pop up for, yeah. And so it wasn't for Mike H specifically, for our questioner in Kansas City. Anyone at Rake that is a member of the external channel, or in our case, we named it external chats. Anyone at Rake can answer that chat. Okay, it's not specific to me. Okay, now if I'm the only person logged in, then of course I'm the only person that's going to be able to pick it up. But we tend to think more about speed here. And then you will see, I'm just kind of catching a break here. I can show you this last feature, or these last two features. I can monitor this chat because of my user role. So if this person that's chatting, if I want to watch that chat go back and forth, I can do that. And Hector does not know that I'm monitoring this right now. Okay. Now, if Hector gets in trouble, I can tell he's struggling. He can't I don't know the answer to this or whatever, and he doesn't think to transfer. I can click takeover, and I can just step right in, and actually, it's a pretty nice experience. The user says, well, so-and-so is now become the owner of this conversation, and it's a pretty seamless experience. So a lot of functionality as it relates to these external conversations. And again, this came from our chat widget. It may have come from Facebook. It may have come from SMS. If it did, we will identify that for you, because maybe you want that context. And so all of that is part of this. Okay, I'm going to stop talking. So I think I went a little long, but Lindsay, questions, or maybe Mike Brown can answer questions too. Whatever people want.
I've been trying to answer some of the online questions. Appreciate everybody submitting those.
Yeah, we got a bunch of those answered. Sumolings, if you have any more questions that you want to drop in there right now, we'll make sure that we get them answered for you. Yeah, do you want me to ask these questions, or Mike Brown, do you think you want to handle it?
I think I can just read from here. We'll start with the top one, which is a great question. We've had this before, and I think I might even deflect to Mike Hendricks on it. But how will or does Rake work alongside Joofy? Do they overlap, or how can they be used together? Mike, you did a little background research, did you, on Joofy?
Yeah, so I think Joofy was something available, or maybe even is, I'm not sure, from AppSumo. So totally get the question. And I think it's a similar product to Rake. I don't think it includes the internal stuff quite as much. So today, we do not have a direct connection with Joofy. We certainly could look and see if there's some functionality with a Zap. I don't know today, but we could figure that out in 3 minutes. But we don't have a defined relationship today with Joofy. So that's my short answer. But you never know what the future would hold.
Yep, good answer. Another question here that I haven't answered yet is when will you support SMS for companies outside of the US? We can, I'll take this one. We can actually handle this now with the difference where it would have to be through your own Twilio account. So acquiring numbers in countries outside the United States, which is where we are, Canada, requires an enormous amount of paperwork back and forth, and that's really our kind of bottleneck and reason for not providing that in at this point in the company progression. But what you'll be able to do is, if you've got a Twilio account, you own a number, we can absolutely map that account to your workspace and help you answer those. So those will be able to flow into Rake just as well. So I hope that helps answer that question.
How about this question, Mike, about sending the transcript along when the chat has ended?
Yeah. So let's see here. So yeah, well, maybe you can just demo that since you got your screen share going. So after a chat has ended, yeah, you can come up to the the action menu in here and choose some of these options. So if you wanted to send it to somebody's email, you just click send a transcript email, type in the email address here, and that will get sent off to them.
And I think it's a good question, because I think the nuance of this question is, yeah, but does it even work after the conversation has ended? And it does. And you can see this conversation is in that ended state. So
Yeah.
good question, but yeah, we do support that.
And there's other options in there. You can send it to a colleague. You can send it to, a channel. We share good ones and bad ones all the time internally here. And, it's just a nice way to keep everybody in the know and get quick answers. So I will type out some replies to some of these questions that I've answered verbally. Just haven't done it yet. Now here's a good one from Ian. Will you offer API webhook for integrating with other tools, software in the future? Thinking about how to integrate natively with a software and not use Zapier. Absolutely. This is probably our biggest internal focus, to get a published API about our event triggers and kind of things that you'd need to interact with Rake. Our first step into this foray was really developing that Zapier interface. They've got such a huge following and such a powerful audience that we felt like that was a natural first step for us. But it laid the groundwork for all of the tools that we'll be needing for the API as well. So right now we're just in the really what I would consider the final process of wrapping up our documentation and providing some enhancements inside of the UI, so that we're exposing different things like entity IDs and session IDs and different things that you'd need to be able to easily integrate the API. If
I can just add there, and I understand that you're saying you would like to work outside of Zapier, but just as an FYI, we do have an integrations page on our website, and now you will see lots of different specific Zaps that have been built that you are certainly welcome to copy. There's a link to each one of them individually, and so just wanted to point that out, since we're kind of on the same topic.
And I would also probably recommend that you take a look at the Rake Direct options right now, which allows you to kind of send and put messages onto the platform. It doesn't integrate down into tasks or some of the other features that Rake has, but it's really kind of a big part of our core messaging component. You can actually use Rake Direct to send an SMS directly to a customer, for example. And get like a conversation started. So you'd send that SMS through Rake Direct API from whatever system that you wanted to integrate from it to, and if they replied, the reply would come back into Rake, and you'd be having kind of a typical chat conversation, just like Mike was showing.
Lindsay, how we doing on questions?
Yeah, it looks like you guys are handling them. Is there any other questions that y'all want to send in? It was answered before. Thank you. You're welcome, Hernan. Yeah, what else do you guys want to know? They're here to answer it. Okay, well, we just got one. Yay, thank you. When setting up a workspace, example ABC, if that's no longer available, currently there's no warning before it sets it up as ABC123, for example. They're worried about the undesirable URL. When will this be changed, or can they change it?
Yeah, I did reply to this one. I'm not sure, maybe it didn't send out there yet, but first of all, we can fix that URL for you. So we apologize for that oversight, and we are working on a fix for this right now. I anticipate this will be available in the next, I'll say 10 days, maybe even sooner. It's something that our dev team is already working on. There's a lot of different places where we need to manage that field, so it's not as small project is like just turn it around in a night or something. So, but we are very much aware of it and appreciate the feedback on it. So should be out anytime.
And then in the short term, we can fix it on our side through our back end, correct, Mike?
Exactly. Yeah.
So if somebody did reach out to us and said, "Ooh, I hate that this says 2749. Let us know what you'd like it to be." We know that's not the sleekest way to fix it, but short story is we can get it fixed at least, so you don't the URL doesn't bug you, so we can get it fixed.
And soon the problem will be obsolete in general. So cool. Love it. Michael asks, can the visitor request the chat transcript?
Currently,
Well,
we don't have that on the widget to say I want to get this chat transcript. We are going to come out with that quite soon, actually. So we're doing a widget redo here over the next I'd say 2 months or so, and that will be one of the features that's going to be included.
Great.
I would say, if you think back though to proactive messages, and let's say you're a company that, yeah, I really would want to make sure they know they can always ask for a transcript of the chat. You could actually use a proactive message very early on. They've been on my website for 3 minutes or 3 seconds. And you could send a message that says, if you'd like to chat with us, we're happy to send you the transcript. Please let us know. And so that's a way to kind of create some engagement with people, and also let them know that you're happy to provide that for them.
Totally. Wonderful. Well, Sumolings, I'm going to wrap it up. This happened this morning. Okay, do you have a GDPR consent manager script for your platform? Does it show on launching the live chat?
Not upon launching the live chat, it does not show. We do address GDPR on our website at rake.ai, but I understand what you're saying. You're talking about the actual interaction, and that's not something that we make available or clickable early in the experience. But that's a pretty good one, Mike. We could probably talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
They are full of good ideas, if you haven't noticed yet.
Yes.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. I am so grateful to have you take the time. And I think those are all of the questions that we have. Let me know, Sumolings, if I missed any. I am so sorry. You're welcome, Ian. I tried to stall this morning, and instead there was just an awkward silence. So I'm not gonna let it happen again. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap us up here, unless there's anything else that y'all want to show us. We feel good?
Yeah, I think we're good. We're really pleased with and honored with how many people have dipped in and purchased with us, and certainly looking forward to a long run here. I know we're up for like 30 days, but looking forward to working with as many people as we can. And I know I mentioned it a little bit, but be sure to look back in within the next 24 hours. You'll probably even see a few updates that we did not mention. So maybe come back in and you can find those gems that we're about to release.
Yeah, awesome. All right, we're getting a bunch of thank yous in the chat. Thank you so much, Mikes, for hanging out with us. I'm going to go ahead, wrap us up. Sumolings, appsumo.com/rake to redeem your codes if you haven't already. It is available for $49. It's a lifetime deal. And of course, that's backed by AppSumo's 60-day guarantee. So you can go ahead, get set up, play around with it, see how it works for you and your team. Once you have done that, we love to read your reviews. You can go ahead and leave those on the deal page, please, please, please. And of course, if you have any more questions, you can leave those on the deal page as well. Thank you so much, guys. It's been a blast. Have a good one.
Great. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, everybody.